Now, as far as what drone you should be purchasing, I recommend the Mavic Mini or the Mavic Mini 2. Why? Because these are really cost effective. DJI is a very reputable brand in the drone industry. And I've crashed this thing about 4 to 5 times now pretty hard into multiple different objects, and it's still in one piece. Like they literally come with extra propellers. You can buy an extra arm if you break it to hook it back up. You can even get a replacement camera or a gimbal. I didn't get any of those things because this thing is still in one solid piece. Now, the reason I recommend you guys get the Mavic Mini 2, it's basically the same price of the Mavic Mini 2. Mavic Mini 2 also has its own crash detection feature. So like if you're accidentally like flying into a wall and you don't realize it, the drone is going to stop itself. If you're flying through trees, the drone is going to self-avoid different branches and different objects, which in my opinion is very helpful, especially when you're a beginner. And there are a lot of other benefits to purchasing the Mavic Mini 2 other than that. The only thing about the Mavic Mini 2 is that it's missing a remote ID component that the manufacturer did not add into it. So in order to fly this thing without having any problems with the FAA or the local authority, you need to purchase a drone tag to keep your fleet in the air. There's a law coming out on September 17th, 2023, where all of this goes into effect. So it's really only going to become an issue after that. Oh, but wait, don't I need a drone that shoots in 4K? Dude, let me tell you something. This thing shoots in 2.7K, and the amount of real estate agents and real estate professionals that have come to me saying that they demand 4K footage, and I said, yeah, sure, I'll deliver that with my drone that only shoots 2.7K. And at the end of it, when they get the final product, they can't even tell the difference between 2.7K and 4K is absolutely obnoxious. So trust me, you having a drone that doesn't shoot in 4K is not the end of the world. 1080p will also do just fine. Depending on what kind of drone kit you get, you'll get a certain number of batteries with it. Typically with my Mavic Mini, I noticed that each battery lasted about 20 minutes, and that is nowhere close to enough to get through a shoot. You need at the very least 40 minutes. And honestly, since you guys are beginners, I would recommend 60 minutes. So make sure you have at least 3 battery packs. I'm sure that the Mavic Mini 2 actually has a longer battery life. So before you decide on which one to purchase, just make sure that whichever one is right for you, depending on the cost of the batteries, depending on the cost of the actual drone, and take all that into account. That's for you guys to decide. Like even just yesterday, I went on a drone shoot with a first-time client, never met the guy before, and on the listing, he did say that he wanted 4K footage. I said, sure, I'll deliver, no problem. Obviously, I was bluffing the whole time because this is the exact drone I use, and it only shoots in 2.7K, as I said before. We finished the shoot, everything goes well, yada, yada, yada. I'll send you the footage when I get back home. As soon as I get home, he hits me again with the question, oh, did you get the footage in 4K, 1080p? What's the deal? I didn't want to answer the question, so I just sent him the footage and said, see for yourself. And that was the exact response that I received back. So please don't stress about that. We have better things to worry about that are coming up. All right, back to story time. So I got my drone, I got my FAA license. Now it was time to learn how to fly the drone. And just to illustrate some of the most basic maneuvers that you must know, at least by the time you go to your first shoot, are the following. And just for reference, this is a house. This is your drone. You want to be able to go from ground level up and above the house. You want to be able to get a panning shot from left to right of the house or right to left of the house. You want to be able to scan the house from top to bottom and bottom to top. You want to be able to do some basic pull in and pull out shots of the house. And basically that's it. You don't want to test yourself too much while you're on the job. And if you've done a lot of practice and you're feeling super confident, another great shot is to get one directly above the property where you're pointing the gimbal camera down and you're either taking images or you're doing a slow pull in, pull out to show the front yard, the backyard, the side yard, and basically all corners of the property in one shot. But even these days, I don't attempt this shot that much, not unless if they're paying really well, because the chances of me losing my drone while putting it at that high of an altitude are very risky. I'm going to link 1 or 2 YouTube videos that I watched in the past to go ahead and teach me these basic maneuvers on what exactly to do with both of my thumbs and just a basic tutorial on how to control your drone. Please do not waste time trying to become an expert flyer on your free time before actually going into the field or even attempting to get new clients. Don't worry about looking like a fool, moving your drone inch by inch, just trying to get it positioned on the right spot so you can get the shot. Whoever is with you, the real estate agent, the real estate investor, the contractor who's staring you down while you're doing the whole thing, is not an expert themselves. Otherwise, they would be doing it themselves. They hired you. So you take your sweet time looking like an amateur, getting the shot right. Because the only moment in time that you have to be perfect is when you are actually hitting record and getting the shot. When you are moving the drone from point A to point B to get the smoothest shot possible. And don't worry, you will get better over time by default. It's just like riding a bike. Also, make sure that your setup time with the drone and calibration time with the drone is only taking less than 10 minutes or less, because really taking too long to set up and having equipment malfunctioning right before the shoot is the only thing that makes you look like you're not a professional. For me, though, I was super overconfident. As soon as I got my pilot license, I bought the drone. As soon as I got the drone in the mail, I put it up in the air for 20 minutes and realized that I only had one battery and it was going to die. So I purchased 2 more batteries to get the full 60 minutes, as I said before. And as soon as I did that, I decided that I was ready to take my new skill set and service into the field. Now, luckily at this time, I was already in the middle of editing a video that I already shot for a real estate agent. So I took the opportunity of being in the middle of the project to get drone shots and add it to the video that would then impress the real estate agent who wasn't even expecting drone shots. I could also add this to my portfolio and promote it on social media, as well as let all my other real estate connections now know that I do drone shots as well, while sending them the sample video that I already created. So it was going to be a win-win-win-win-win scenario. I went back to the house that I previously shot, and I knew it was vacant, so I wasn't going to have any problem anyone asking me what I was doing there, and I knew the real estate agent most likely wasn't going to be there as well. So without anyone's permission, I went back to the house to get my drone shots. And unfortunately, the overconfidence I was carrying throughout this entire journey failed me because I didn't end up getting the drone shots. I was really hyped on getting these shots and finishing this project off with drone shots that no one was expecting. So I decided to ignore the 11 to 15 mile per hour wind warning and storm warning. I figured I could get the job done before the storm hit. Can you blame me? And for the record, my wife still gives me shit for this, but everything would have went perfectly fine if I had simply had a little control of my overconfidence. Because what your boy attempted on his first drone shoot while getting the first shot was just dumb. Let me paint the picture for you. There's a house here, a house here, and a house here, and more houses down the street. On this side was this enormous field, right? And on the other side of that field were a bunch of trees. And on the other side of those trees was a river. And on the other side of the river was the next town and a bunch of warehouses. What I wanted to do was have my drone fly from over the trees where the river was, over the trees, over the field, to then reveal the home. So I know my starting point for the shot was getting the drone over to the river. So I put the drone up in the air, got it over to the river. The only problem was it never came back from the river. Those 15 mile per hour winds turned to 17 mile per hour winds and took my drone into the next town, over multiple 100-meter high warehouses, into like a steel mill, never to be found again. Dude, so you lost your drone on your first drone shoot? Yes. Yes, indeed I did. I got the strong wind warning on my screen, but I guess my beginner drone skills were not good enough to get it back. While I was super discouraged after spending the entire day looking for it and getting the warehouse guys to go on top of the roof of the warehouse to look for it, your boy was still very overconfident. I emailed DJI and explained to them why I thought the drone flying away was not my fault, and instead it was a potential issue with the drone that caused it. They didn't buy the story, but they were nice enough to go ahead and give me a $200 credit on my next purchase. DJI, if you're seeing this, thank you so much. I went back to my girlfriend, borrowed another $200. 2 days later, Amazon delivered the package, and I was holding the same exact drone that I had just lost. I went back to the house with my new drone on a nice sunny morning, got the shots, added it to the video, did everything I said I was gonna do. And the rest is kind of history.